There are a few series out there that I have not familiarized myself with yet, and The Legend of Heroes is one of them. The saga is huge, spanning multiple titles and hundreds of hours of combined gameplay, so it's a little bit intimidating to figure out where to start. But the truth of the matter is that the developers Falcom have created different entry points into the series where they want to get people to jump in. And after doing a little bit of research, I finally decided that Cold Steel was going to be the place where I figure out, do I like this game? Do I like this series at all? After nearly 70 hours of gameplay, this might be one of the longest JRPGs I've ever played in my life. 70 hours of gameplay, I am ready to tell you about my first foray into the Legend of Heroes saga. And let me tell you, it definitely won't be my last. Thanks for joining me as I tell you all about my first experience in the country of Erebonia. Trails of Cold Steel begins by introducing you to Reen Schwarzer, a young swordsman who has chosen to enroll in Thor's military academy. Shortly after arriving on campus, he discovers that he, along with a few other first-year students, have been chosen to be part of an experimental curriculum designed to equip students with the necessary skills to understand the country of Erebonia and its people so that they can have a unique perspective when they go on to serve in the military or other public service jobs across the country. This class is called Class 7. Shortly after arriving, you're introduced to your classmates, and the conflicts quickly begin as you're thrust into an orienteering exercise that immediately shows the strengths and the weaknesses of this experimental curriculum. At the end of the day, the class survives their foray into the mysterious old schoolhouse, and your life as a student begins at the academy. So, unlike other longtime fans who have played through all of the Trails in the Sky trilogy, I simply was not used to the intense world building that this game likes to do. The way I understand it is that the Sky trilogy introduces you to the country of Liberl, the Crossbell arc tells you about the city-state area of Crossbell, I still don't know a whole lot about it, and Cold Steel introduces you to Erebonia. By design, this entire game is a primer on Erebonian politics, Erebonian culture, while giving you insight to things you might have missed if you have never played the previous games. I personally think that they do this pretty well, but there are a few pacing issues, and we'll talk about them. Out of the 7 chapters in the game, 6 of them have you repeating the same process of spending your free day helping the student council, exploring the mysterious old schoolhouse, tests, a practical exam, and then going on a field study to a different part of Erebonia. This happens every single month of the game. It's through this very familiar process, though, that your story develops and you begin to see exactly what's going on. Most importantly, how it affects your classmates, instructors, and really the citizenry of Erebonia as a whole, not to mention the neighboring countries. Each time the class goes off on a whirlwind adventure, your instructor decides for you which party members you'll be taking. And this really helps you get to know all the characters, and also takes away this early headache of trying to help you decide who exactly you should pick to go with you in your party. I really liked this because it forced me to learn how to use the different party combinations to my advantage early on and teach me the fundamentals of the game. The story, world, and lore of this saga is rich, deep, and nearly intimidating. The developers Falcom must have a lore bible the size of the airships in this game to keep all the characters, places, and people intact for storytelling. Yet, you as the player never really get overwhelmed. At least I didn't. One of the things the game does is make both the members of Class 7 and also the others they'll interact with incredibly unique, down to personalities and even hairstyles and colors that they wear. The various cities and towns you visit on your field studies are all varied, as well as giving you that grand sense of adventure that you typically have in a JRPG, albeit it is presented in this field trip fashion. Sometimes, to get the main part of the plot moving forward, it can be hours of side quests and battling. This might be one of the longest JRPGs I've ever actually played. And you just have to kind of sit back and appreciate the world building for what it is, detailed. Here's the thing. I never really got bored while out on the field studies. Some of the side quests can be a little bit repetitive. Run here, talk to this person, then do that. But it's all designed around the central idea of teaching you about Erebonia and the people that live there. Unfortunately, about half of them that you do for Toa, the student council president, or for the director of your field studies, just don't seem to teach you about the world. They don't seem pertinent, and their designs are simply fetch quests. You know, looking for someone's cat in a JRPG is a trope for a quest for sure, but in such a long game, it does not feel necessary. It doesn't need padding. The one thing that these quests do is provide rewards for you in terms of items and accessories and an overall increase to your class's rank, which yields even more rewards. You do get a grade for these studies, after all. The best part of the side quests, whether it's school or on your field studies, is really building the relationship with your party and getting to know them. This is where the game shines. And honestly, it paces out their origins, motivations, and goals as the entire story progresses in such a great way. And this is oftentimes while the game has a little bit of pacing issues, in my opinion. It has to spend a lot of time developing everyone's stories, and there are a lot of characters here. Rean might be the main protagonist, but the other characters are vitally important to what's going on. Each of them play a very important role, so the main storyline development stalls or goes alongside while you're introduced to 8+ characters and their origins. The dramatic and in-depth story is matched by what I think could be one of the better turn-based battle systems out there. Seriously, I had a blast with the combat in this game. Want to know the main reason why? You can actually inflict on difficult enemies and bosses negative status effects. Second, who doesn't love arts and crafts? Seriously though, I really enjoyed the battle system in this game, and let me tell you a little bit why. Much like my love for Grandia 2, there is more depth to this turn-based system than just fighting and healing in an attempt to make the bad guy reach 0 HP before you. It's crucial on the more difficult battles that you try to stop the enemies on the field from hurting you. I get frustrated by RPGs that don't give you the chance to give stronger enemies or bosses negative status effects. Why have all those skills available to you suddenly just been stripped away just because the enemy's a little bit stronger? In Cold Steel, the challenging enemies aren't as easily susceptible to status effects, but it can happen and could be crucial in latter parts of the game to avoid a team wipe. There's also the addition of unique effects that can happen upon where an enemy or ally are in the turn order that makes the game even more exciting. Sometimes you get an extra opportunity to use a powerful spell with no use of your EP, and that can be a lifesaver. Of course, having an enemy perform a critical special attack on a character in your party can almost assuredly take them out. There are pros and cons to this system. Well, it's all pros, it's just sometimes it really hurts your party, but it makes the whole battle a whole lot more fun. Cold Steel's battle system is broken down to the basics, of course. Attacks, movement, arts and crafts, and of course items. Movement is important for one key reason. Cold Steel's battles actually take distance from friend or foe into account as you go. Arts, which are the magic style attacks that you can perform using the quartz in your Arcus unit, allow you to attack, heal, apply buffs and debuffs to your party and their foes. You also have crafts, which use craft points to do attacks similar to arts. But your craft points are recharged through successfully attacking and defeating enemies or being damaged by foes. In the case of arts, you need to rest or use an EP recharge item in order to continue using those skills, much like traditional magic in most JRPGs. I like the variety of systems available, with some characters having much more EP than others, but everyone having the same amount of craft points. Some just get more quickly than others. Some of the craft buffs are exceedingly crucial for your party. I would almost always have Elliot with me for resounding beat, and I would use it at the beginning of nearly every single battle. Defense and healing for 3 turns? Yes, please. The arts are broken down into different elements in the game, most of them functioning as attacks with some buffs for your party. All of them are crucial to your success, particularly against more difficult enemies. Who doesn't want to freeze a large enemy who could do massive damage to you on your next turn? It's great. It's a lot like Pokemon. Discovering the type weaknesses really helps rack up the damage. I will say one thing that frustrated me about the battle system quite a bit was the fact that sometimes RNG, the randomness of the battles, is against you, depending on what your enemies decide to do. Sometimes more difficult monsters or bosses could very quickly stack a ton of negative status effects on me and wipe me out with zero chance to respond. Yes, you can immediately retry a battle, even on an easier difficulty, but it just grew frustrating. The accessories that you can equip on your characters can only do so much, and if you're in a gauntlet of boss battles who use different types of negative status effects, there just isn't enough type coverage. You're screwed. Your party is going to get hurt. Cold Steel is grindy, meaty, and some of the bosses, at least for me, required being at their level or even much higher in order to easily defeat them. The game always gives you places to heal before big fights, which helps, but I needed to grind, and I enjoy grinding. I enjoyed the battle system in the game, but towards the end, it got tough. I never got bored of the battles, like I said, particularly because you can skip the animations for arts and crafts, both yourself and your foes. If you're trying to hurry along to the next place, you can use the turbo button. Even though it is grindy, the developers put systems in place to respect the player's time if they want to speed things along. The best part, as long as you're not in a cutscene or a battle, you can save anywhere. So, one thing I did is when I checked out Trails in the Sky a few years ago, I only got a couple hours into it, I really didn't understand the orbiment system at all. However, in Cold Steel, they do a great job of introducing you to this unique device that makes the magic system in the game stand out to other titles. The Arcus unit, which houses your quartz, is nearly fully customizable, with different combinations of master quartz and smaller quartz, allowing you to put whatever types of spells and buffs and debuffs and actions on your character that you choose. These master quartz also level up with time, giving your characters a serious edge in battle as they get to the much higher levels. One of them in particular will revive your character up to twice per battle when maxed out. This can be a lifesaver on bosses who can do a team wipe with one attack. There are some great systems in play with the battles in this game, and I think it culminates in a great experience for fans of turn-based JRPGs. I can understand why people have played through hundreds of hours of this. It's just kind of fun to fight. The fights are fun. The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel isn't just a meaty JRPG with an amazing cast of characters. It's just one arc and a massive saga that you have to discover. Pacing issues aside, this game will take you on a roller coaster of emotions. It has some really fun set pieces, and there are characters that you're going to want to get to know more of, or that you just love to really hate. If this is any indication to how I felt about the title, I was honestly ready to just pop in Cold Steel 2 and keep going. So let me know, what are your thoughts on the game? What do you think about this series? Are you really invested in The Legend of Heroes? Do you not know where to start? I might be talking about that in another video very soon. But thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and we'll catch you again in the next video.